Hi, thanks so much for joining me on the Listen Up Girl podcast. This is your daily LGBTQ plus news podcast, and I'm Zach Randall-Friedman. Today is June 19th, 2026, day 19 of Pride Month. And today is just not any Friday. Today is Juneteenth. It's the federal holiday marking June 19th, 1865, the day Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, to announce that enslaved people were free. This is 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had already been signed. Freedom delayed by design. Sound familiar? There is something that is not an accident about Juneteenth landing inside Pride Month. Black people have been reminding us of that for years, and today we honor it. And on the news front today, we have a lot to talk about how a judge blocked one of the most extreme bathroom bans in the country. We have some Pride events that are coming up, and also we're 9 days away until New York City Pride. So let's get into it, starting with Juneteenth and Pride. One community's liberation story. Today is Juneteenth, and if you're listening to this podcast, I want you to take a moment to sit with that, not rush past it, because today is not incidental to Pride Month, it is essential to it. Juneteenth commemorates 1865 when freedom was finally announced in Texas. Enslaved Black Americans didn't hear the news when Lincoln signed the documentation in 1863. They heard it when soldiers arrived 2 years later. The gap between the Declaration and the reality is one of the most important lessons in American history, because rights on paper and freedom in your body are not the same thing. Black queer people have always known this. They've been saying it out loud for years. There'd be no Pride without Juneteenth. The Stonewall Uprising was primarily led by Black and brown transgender women. Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, people who were facing racism and homophobia and transphobia all at once, all the time with no pause button. Today, as we mark Juneteenth, 2026, the dual struggle continues. Black LGBTQ plus people face higher rates of violence, housing insecurity, and healthcare barriers than any other group. The Orange Convicted Felons Administration has gone after trans health, DEI programs, and federal civil rights protections with coordinated aggression. And the communities hit hardest are those often at the intersection of Black identity and queer identity. This week, Washington, D.C.'s Capitol Pride-themed Exist, Resist, and Have the Audacity has been the holding panel discussion on Black LGBTQ history preservation, centering voices that are too often pushed to the margins within our own movement. The Windy City Times put it beautifully this week. Freedom on paper isn't freedom in your body. And today on Juneteenth, we carry both histories. We celebrate both freedoms, and we acknowledge that neither is fully realized yet. Our next story is federal judge blocks Idaho's extreme bathroom ban. Now to a legal win that came down 3 days ago, June 16th, and we are covering it today because it deserves airtime. A federal judge in Idaho blocked that State House Bill 752, one of the most extreme anti-trans bathroom laws in the country. And I want to be very clear about what this law would have done, because it would have not just been a bathroom bill in a conventional sense. HB 752 would have made it a crime, a criminal offense for a transgender person to use a public restroom that aligns with their gender identity. We're talking government buildings, libraries, rest stops, malls, gas stations, restaurants, hospitals, entertainment venues, anywhere open to the public. A first offense, a misdemeanor. A second offense, a felony. And under some interpretations, individuals would have faced up to 5 years in prison. So read that again, 5 years in prison for using what they are saying is the wrong bathroom. Idaho lawmakers also propose, and I wish were making this up, the police could use DNA testing to enforce this law. DNA testing at a public restroom. U.S. District Attorney Amanda Brailsford issued a 30-page preliminary injunction blocking the major portions of the law. She ruled that key provisions were vague to point to being unconstitutionally unenforceable. Police themselves wouldn't know how to apply them. The injunction was also brought by 6 transgender Idahoans represented by the ACLU of Idaho, and Lambda Legal. Statewide protections now extend beyond just the original plaintiffs because the judge provisionally certified a class. That means all trans people in Idaho benefit while the case continues. Critically, the law was set to take effect July 1st. That's the 13 days away from now. This ruling buys time and signals that the courts are paying attention. The ACLU of Idaho's Emily Croston said it plainly. Every trans Idahoan would have to think about what bathroom they can use every time they leave their house. The fight is not over. The changing room portion of this law has not blocked and may still take effect. But today, trans people in Idaho can breathe a little easier, and that matters. Next, we go to Stonewall Columbus Pride opens tonight. So we're heading to the Midwest now because tonight is a big night in Columbus, Ohio. The Stonewall Columbus Pride Festival opens tonight, and this is not a small regional event. This is the largest free pride festival in the Midwest and one of the biggest in the entire country. Organizers expect over 700,000 people to show up across the weekend. The festival runs tonight from 4 to 10 p.m. at Goodale Park, continuing tomorrow with a Pride March at 10:30 a.m., followed by a second festival day. More than 200 nonprofits and corporate vendors, 2 performance stages, a community wellness area, and what Stonewall Columbus describes as one of the most community-rooted lineups they have ever assembled. This year's theme is Until We're All Free, and Stonewall Columbus Executive Director Denzel Porteous has been clear about what that means. No one in the community is fully free until we all are. Their programming this year leans hard into intersectionality, and given that tonight's opening falls on Juneteenth, that feels like more than timing. Community Programs Coordinator Jackie Braxton said something this week that I want to share with you directly. He said, I have a really strong sense of importance for the legacy of Juneteenth. I think both Juneteenth and Stonewall Uprising are really important points in history where people who were oppressed felt they needed to come together. There it is, 2 uprisings, 1 month, 1 movement. The festival also honors Lester Singleton as this year's patron of Pride, an artist, a historian, and community leader who has spent decades preserving LGBTQ plus history in Central Ohio, including co-directing the documentary about Summit Station, Ohio's first lesbian bar. The kind of memory keeping its own form of resistance. If you're in the Columbus area or close enough to drive, tonight is the night. Free admission. Goodale Park doors are open at 4. Next, Fresh Meat Festival's 25th anniversary opens tonight in San Francisco. So we're staying with tonight's energy because something else extraordinary is opening tonight on the West Coast. The Fresh Meat Festival, San Francisco's landmark trans and queer performance art showcase, celebrates its 25th anniversary this year with opening night at Z Space in the Mission District. For those who don't know, Fresh Meat, it is one of the longest-running trans-centered performance arts events in the country. Founded and led by Sean Dorsey, one of the nation's pioneering openly trans choreographers, it has spent 25 years creating a stage for artists, as Dorsey puts it, often fall outside the traditional categories. This year's lineup is extraordinary: a 40-member transgender, intersex, and genderqueer choir, a Filipino-American drag supergroup called Filipinex, trans roots groups, trailblazer Shauna Virgo, described as the fairy godmother of trans country artists, and world-class Vogue artist, gender-defying classical Chinese dance, and new commissioned world premieres from artists including Janip Star, a Puerto Rican-born performer and disability artist who assembled an entire ensemble of disabled, BIPOC, and queer performers for a work that centers bodies and experiences rarely seen on stage. This phrase stopped me. The love and joy and medicine we need. That's exactly what art is. And in a year when trans people are being legislated against, they are told they are a threat. They told they don't belong in bathrooms or locker rooms or classrooms or the military, creating a center stage that says the opposite loudly and beautifully. And it's not just celebration, it's defiance. The festival runs tonight and tomorrow at 8 p.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m. Tickets are on a sliding scale. No one is turned away for a lack of funds. If you're in the Bay Area, this one is worth it. Next, Capitol Pride exists, resist, and have the audacity. Washington, D.C.'s Capitol Pride has been building momentum all week, and I want to give it a proper moment on this show because the way D.C. is framing Pride this year is something. The 2026 theme is exist, resist, and have the audacity. And if you have spent any time paying attention to what the Orange Convicted Felons Administration has done to LGBTQ plus people, federal employees, trans healthcare, and DEI programs across this country, you understand exactly why DC chose those 3 words. This week, Capitol Pride has hosted events including Silver Pride, a celebration of LGBTQ plus seniors, a panel discussion on Black LGBTQ plus history preservation report featuring local leaders and DC Council member Zachary Parker. That panel was a direct response to a troubling trend, the erasure of Black LGBTQ plus history from official records, archives, and cultural institutions. A quieter kind of harm, but a very real one. Visibility is a survival strategy. Visibility is a power. That's the whole thesis of Pride, and this is why this administration works so hard to keep us invisible. Capitol Pride Signature Concert happened June 21st, Sunday, at a free outdoor event featuring Maureen Morris alongside local LGBTQ plus talents. So if you are in or near the DC area, be sure to go by and enjoy the time. And next, your reminder, 9 days until World Pride New York City. So I want to close today with the number 9. 9 days until NYC Pride March on June 28th, which this year lands on the exact 57th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. World Pride is in New York City this year. The march, the events, the history, 9 days. I know some of you are already there. I know some of you are planning to be there. And I know some of you can't be there because of geography or money or safety or any of the 100 of other reasons life makes it complicated to go where the crowd is. But here's what I want you to know. What's happening this month in Columbus and San Francisco, in your city, in your neighborhood, it's all connected. It's all one story. The story of people who were told to disappear and refused. Today is Juneteenth, the day freedom was announced. Late, delayed, imperfect, but announced. June 28th will be the day we march to remind the world that that announcement is still not the reality and we are still demanding it. 9 days, so stay with us. This is Listen Up Girl for your Friday, June 19th news podcast. Before I let you go, be sure to subscribe. Leave a rating for this podcast. The more ratings I receive for this podcast, the more people hear it. We need to stay informed and have a wonderful Pride weekend. Thanks so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with more news. Thank you.